Yo, what's up everybody? It's your friendly neighborhood Taco swinging back at you with another video. And today, that intro will finally make sense. First of all, I want to say something to you guys. I'm sorry if you can hear my PS4 in the background. It sounds like it's about to lift off. I know. I'm working on getting a PS5 just because my PS4, it's on the brink. You know, I think if we all have last gen consoles, we know. Every time you boot them up, they sound like they're about to blow the fuck up. In my PlayStation, it's literally like a rocket ship. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Everybody, let's have a moment of silence for my PlayStation. Just listen to it. Just listen to it. You know what? Matter of fact, let me just put it in rest mode. Jesus Christ, my PlayStation is going crazy. Alright, it's okay, Betsy. Let me put old Betsy in rest mode and get back into this video. This is going to be a brand new series and something that will only have 3 parts. This series is going to have 3 40-minute parts. It is What If Miles Morales Went to UA High. Now, if you guys don't know who Miles Morales is, what? How do you not know who Miles Morales is? He is a Spider-Man. He is the Spider-Man who is from Brooklyn. He is known as, quote-unquote, Black Spider-Man. But Miles Morales is so much more than that. He's a great character, and a lot of us fall in love with Miles Morales the same way that we fell in love with Peter Parker. Now, I haven't done a lot of these unscripted videos. I'm still trying to get used to it. I'm getting better and better. As you guys can see that my unscripting videos is getting better and better. But if I do make some mistakes, stumble, mess up with some of the lore and some of the canon, you guys let me know down there in the comments, and I'll retcon them in the next part. Those are all very important to me, so if you guys could really just let me know, I'll get them fixed. Anyway, that's me taking up enough of you guys' time. Let's get into the video. Before we start, I just want to say this is the 400 sub special, by the way. Thank you guys for helping me hit 400 subs. We were just celebrating 300 subs like last week, and now we're on 400. Let's hit 500 in a week. Can we do that? I don't know, but keep this growth up. I absolutely love every single one of you new guys. Hey, I'm just Taco, Big G Taco, whatever you want to call me, Taco. I love every single one of you guys. Sorry. Let's get back into it. Miles Morales, a 15-year-old boy. He's patrolling the streets of his neighborhood in Brooklyn when he gets bit by a radioactive spider. The entire story of him getting bit by a radioactive spider is another thing than what we are going to be visiting today. Today, we're going to be visiting the fact that Miles lives in a superhero-powered society. In this odd universe, Miles would be transported from the world that he had previously known into the world of MHA. But instead of him realizing it, it would be as if nothing had happened to him. When he gets transported into this world through a strange interdimensional portal, it's as if he forgets everything that happened in his previous world, and he arrived in the world of MHA, a new person. His mind blanked, only with flashes of the memories that he previously had. Flashes of his family, of his father, of his proud father, of his mother, of his proud mother. He remembered something about them important. All he knew was that his father was a policeman, and his mother, a nurse. Anything other than that, he couldn't pry any deeper. He couldn't remember his own name until someone stumbles upon him. Miles wakes up in an alleyway, confused. He's looking around to see a boy about to get killed by a sludge-like villain. Miles then, in the blink of an eye, walks out running, yelling at the villain, screaming, "Let that boy go, you stupid piece of sludge." Miles, still not realizing what was going on, swings a punch. Like a true hero, like a true Spider-Man would, he sprung into action, swinging at the sludge villain, causing himself to also be absorbed. He clawed and clawed and clawed, trying to get this villain off of Izuku, but this only made him suck deeper and deeper into the sludge. Izuku looks as another boy is getting involved in this, and that's when All Might arrives. When All Might arrives, Miles' hands are already submerged in the slime, as well as Izuku, who was like this close to being suffocated. Miles is screaming, "Help, please! We need to save him!" When All Might all of a sudden swings down with his fist, causing the sludge villain to splat everywhere, where All Might captures him quickly. Miles looks at this, in absolute awe. He then steps back, falling on the ground, looking up to see Izuku staring at All Might. Izuku immediately freaks out, fanning out over All Might, calling him number one. Miles sits there on the ground as All Might puts out his hand towards Miles, saying, "Hey, take my hand, kid." Miles takes his hand and stands up. So we're just going to say that Miles understands the language of Japanese. We're not going to say he, speaks English or anything, but for this interaction with All Might, he actually does. He opens his mouth and says, "Thank you," in English. But all of a sudden, when All Might says thank you back, Miles responds in Japanese, saying, "Who are you?" So we're just going to say that Miles automatically translates. He can understand Japanese and English. Let's not worry about the specifics too much. This is a what if after all. Let's not, freak out over it. It's not a big deal. Miles knows both Japanese and English. Let's get back into it. And All Might looks at him saying, "Foreigner, right?" Yeah. But, really, who are you?" All Might laughs, looking up with pride as his Adonis-like skin shines in the light. Izuku then stares at Miles, then back at All Might, saying, "He's All Might, the number one hero in all of Japan, the greatest hero to ever live. That's right. The symbol of peace, the symbol of justice. He terrorizes villainy and gets rid of them throughout our streets in Japan and throughout the world. He is known worldwide as the greatest hero to ever live." "You know a lot about me, kid. Are you a fan?" "Yes, I am." And then Izuku burst out asking the question, with Miles right there to see him do it. "Can I be a hero without having a quirk?" Dead silence when All Might looks at Izuku, letting him know the truth. Everything happens the way that that All Might and Izuku would go through it in canon. Miles stands up, saying, "That's not true," as All Might is about to walk away. Izuku getting ready to grab on. "That's not true. It doesn't matter what kind of power you have. If you're a true hero at heart, you can become one." Miles then points at himself. "I didn't know what was going to happen to me when I rushed out to that sludge, but I tried my best, and that makes me a hero in itself. Mr. Number One, I'm sorry, but you got being a hero all wrong." Miles' words echo throughout All Might's ears. He looks back, looking Miles in the eyes. This kid, he had what it took. So, what did you say your name was again, kid? "I'm Miles. Miles Morales." And just then, Miles remembered his name, and he got a quick flashback from his past. He sees Peter, but he doesn't know it's Peter, and he sees him in his full Spider-Man getup, looking at Miles. Miles is in a first-person view, looking down, and he sees himself wearing some sort of suit. He has on his black Spider-Man suit, the classic Miles Morales Spider-Man suit, and he looks at his hands, then looks back up at Peter. Peter says, "You can do this, because you're Spider-Man. But not only that, you are you. You don't have to be like me, Miles. You don't have to be Peter Parker, because you're Miles Morales." Miles then wakes up out of his zone. All Might is now looking at him, saying, Come with me, kid. I got something to show you." All Might then grabs Miles' hand. Miles looks at Izuku, then back at All Might, when All Might jumps off, blasting off. Izuku somehow tags along, still managing to grab the back of All Might's pants. As All Might and Miles are flying through the air, Miles doesn't freak out. He has a feeling, like a sensation, like he had done this before. Flying through the air, he looks up, smiling. All Might looks at his side to see this kid. Kids, would usually be screaming. They had never experienced something like this before, and they would usually be freaking the hell out. But Miles, on the other hand, he was still, calm, and flew throughout the air as if he had done it before, with his arms open to help All Might glide along. He looks at this kid and says, "Hey, I have something to ask you." That's when they hear Izuku screaming, hanging onto the back of All Might's leg by a string. They land, and as soon as they do, All Might deflates. Izuku, catching his breath, then sees a puff of smoke deflate from his hero, as his hero was now in a state that we can only explain as the classic skinny bite. Miles looks at him and says, "What the hell? What just happened to him?" Izuku stares at All Might. Miles then says, "Is he a druggie or something? I remember seeing guys like you all across my neighborhood." What? Wait, where is my neighborhood? Anyway, that's not the point. What the hell is going on here? Izuku then looks at Miles, then back at All Might, and he nods his head. What the hell's going on here, All Might? Kids, there's something I have to tell you. All Might then goes to the rundown, telling both Miles and Izuku his story. He says, "I never thought I would come out with this, especially to two kids like you. But I have to pass my power on. If I don't, then the world would be without a symbol of peace, and I can't let that happen. That's why I want you, Miles." Huh? "To become the next All Might, to wield the power of my predecessors, and be the new symbol of peace." Miles then points at himself, saying, "Me?" Izuku was there, simply witnessing all of this. He looks at Miles, then back at All Might, and then All Might looks at Izuku. What the hell is going on here? I'm sorry to spring this all on you, but you have what it takes. Your words remind me of someone in my past. All Might then has a flashback to his old sensei. She had said some similar words. Looking at Miles, he puts out his hand and says, "Are you ready?" "Ready for what?" "Ready to be a hero?" That's when they hear sounds bursting off from the city. The sludge villain had escaped. When Izuku grabbed to hunt, something had happened. All Might had somehow lost a bottle with the sludge villain in it, and they could see the fire building up from a mile away. Immediately, Miles sprung into action, saying, "Thanks for the offer, but I think it'd be better for you to see me in action." Miles then took out his hand, getting ready. He crunched his knuckles, and his senses returned back to him. He felt it all around him. This feeling, I felt it before. I've done this before. Miles then sprints off the building, jumping off. All Might yells at him, "No!" But Miles does it anyway. Before they knew it, Miles was glued to the side of the building. "Thanks for the offer, All Might, but I gotta save this guy first. I'll get back to you, alright?" Miles then jumps from building to building, sticking onto the walls, crawling and crawling. Actually, first things first, I want to say this, brief pause. Is that something that Miles can do? Does Miles have the sticky powers? Can he stick? I'm pretty sure Miles can stick, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Miles can stick. Come on, he's Spider-Man. Spider-Man has to stick. Crawling through the city buildings, he gets closer and closer and closer towards the conundrum. And when he gets there, he sees the sludge villain going off on another rampage. Stupid sludge. He sizes up the goddamn area. Looking around, he sees heroes trying to, save this kid from the sludge villain. But these guys, they are not prepared for this guy. And so, he springs into action, jumping off the side of the building, blending in with the crowd. He inches closer and closer to the sludge. At that same time, All Might and Izuku arrive on foot. I mean, they were totally exhausted sprinting there. And Izuku, seeing what's happening to his friend, couldn't sit there and just watch. Zuko then sprung into action, All Might trying to hold him back. That's when Miles stops him. Miles had saw Zuko running up in the crowd. Putting out his hand, he looked at Zuko and said, "I got this. I'll save your friend for you." Miles then jumps out, cracking his knuckles, and then, with a flick of his fingers, he lets off an electric shock. As he does that, he springs inside the sludge, the electricity almost getting to him himself, and just in the nick of time, as the electricity flows throughout the sludge's body, causing him to seize up and evaporate into nothingness, he kicks Bakugo out, replacing him with himself. He's now inside the sludge, electrocuting it into unconsciousness. As he does that, the sludge falls into a droopy pool of nothingness. I mean, he's still alive, but he's definitely KO'd. It might be that way for a decent bit. Miles had knocked the two senses out of this guy. He exhales. He was holding his breath, and then he pops out, standing up straight. His back turned to the crowd. As he turns around, he grabs Bakugo, pulling him up, saying, "Your friend told me to save you." Bakugo then looks over at Deku, as Deku runs over to Bakugo. "Bakugo, I thought you were... Get away from me, Deku." This guy seems like a jerk. Why do you hang out with him? He's my friend. I'm not your friend, Deku. Thanks. The crowd then erupts. What All Might had just witnessed. Miles had just sized up the entire situation, stopped the reckless kid from making a stupid move that could probably cost him his life, and do the best possible situation. He got rid of the villain while also keeping the victim incredibly safe and limiting casualties. The villain didn't spread towards other victims. He simply knocked him out without using overly lethal force, while also doing a pretty clean job. This kid had the mind of a pro and moved like he had done this before. He was definitely a prodigy. All Might then powered up. Using the little strength he had, he let off a thunderous clap, a laugh, and then said, "You're definitely him. You're worthy." To the entire crowd, the words echoed, and people had their phones out. This video would be recorded and sent all across the internet quickly. All Might tells Miles Morales to his face, he
She like yaddy yaya, she like yaddy yaya. Bitch, I'm rooting for ya. Bitch, I'm rooting for ya. She like yaddy yaya, she like yaddy yaya. Bitch, I'm rooting for ya. Bitch, I'm rooting for ya.
Bitch, I'ma break the bank. Bitch, I'ma break the bank. Bitch, I'ma break the bank. Bitch, I'ma run like a check. Bitch, I'ma ball like a ref. Bitch, I'ma ball like a ref. She bout to give me some nut. Nigga, they mad and not like me. Say she bad, wanna be on my team. Photo the game, bitch, I'm going to speed. You say that it's like it came with a beat. Bitch, I'ma break the bank. Bitch, I'ma break the bank.